Alright, today we're going to start isometric, the 3D stuff. So let's take some notes first. You need to get your ruler and a piece of isometric graph paper and make a line going straight up and down. Let me zoom out. Your paper should be this way, this direction, long ways. Okay, straight up and down with an arrow on top, and you're going to label that X, nope, Y, and then this line that goes from top left to bottom right, make a little line on there, about 4 units or so, 4 or 5 units, label that one X. And then on the line going top right to bottom left, draw a little line and label that Z. Okay, and then jot down some notes. And this is going to kind of be your cheat sheet for this whole little section. So make sure you understand this. X, the x-axis, is the axis on which you show width. The y-axis, the axis where you show height, and the z-axis represents depth. Okay? Just kind of make a little line there. That's kind of its own note. And then write the word sketch planes. Sketch planes. So here are your sketch planes. Using the X and the Y, draw in some boxes. We'll go about 3 wide and about 2 tall. Okay, so this is its own little sketch plane for the front view. So when you're drawing front view, you need to kind of adjust your eyes to see those distorted squares as its own sketch plane. Come down in here, make a sketch plane using the Y and the Z, and go about 2 by 2, something like that. That is the sketch plane for side view. So when you're drawing side view, train your eyes to see those distorted boxes. And then we'll go on the Z and the X, and I kind of ran out of room here. Z and the X, and that would be the sketch plane. So when you're drawing top view, label that one top. When you're drawing top view, you need to get your eyes to see those distorted boxes. I know the light's kind of funny on that. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so this is we're still taking notes that are part of the sketch plane. So for front, to show front, you use X and Y. To draw side, you use Y and Z. To draw top, you use X and Z. Okay, so there's kind of the basics of ISO. Alright, now let's talk about setting up a drawing. all we're going to do on our ISO drawings is border them. So I'm going to take my ruler and outline the border. Borderline is the heaviest, darkest line weight on your drawings. And then we're just going to go in all caps in the bottom right, your name as first initial dot last name, all caps, 1/4 inch letters, and then we'll just name the drawing in the bottom left hand corner, all caps, 1/4 inch letters. We'll just call this one practice. Okay, and then we're going to do the same block we did for block 1 on the multi-view drawings. Okay, so if I refer back to my notes, which you should still have out handy, you're going to use, to do front view, you're going to use the X and the Y. X and the Y. These squares are this axis and this axis to draw the front view. And it's going to sit on there sort of like that. Okay? So, just kind of roughly find the center of your paper. We don't really use a formula for isometric. From left to right it should be in the center, and from top to bottom it should be more towards the bottom. So I'm going to go with something like this. Okay? And that is going to be this point on my front view. My width is 4. I use the X to show width. So make sure you count these like I'm counting them. Let me zoom in here. We don't have nice neat squares to count with anymore like we did on multi-view. So every area where all 3 axes cross is 1 unit. So from here it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there to there. Let me count that again for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. Draw that in with your ruler. Okay, then we need to do our height, which is 3 1/4. This is just a rectangle, so it's the same on both sides. 3 1/4. I show my height on the Y, and every place where all 3 axes cross is 1 unit. So that would be 1, 2, 3, and a 4th. Count that again for you. 1, 2, 3, and a 4th. Same over here on the right. 1, 2, 3, and a 4th. Alright, and take your ruler, connect that all around. Okay, so that is my front. So now I just need to show depth. Depth is 1 1/2 all the way around. So for depth I use my Z axis. This is the nicest, neatest place to do it because it ends right on an intersection. So that's where I'll count first. Here's my Z axis. I need to go 1 1/2 units. So every place where all 3 axes intersect is 1. So I'm going to go 1 1/2 is right there. Now this one's a little trickier look real close. My 1 is right there. 2 would be right there. So 1.5 right there. Okay, should be right there. And then same thing here. There's 1, there's 2, so 1.5 is going to be right there. And those are not in nice, neat places on intersections. You really got to think through where to put those. Okay, you can just pause the video if you are unsure. And then I'm just going to go bam, 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 bam with my ruler. These are still object lines, just like on multi-view. So they have the second heaviest line weight on your drawing behind the border line. Okay, so you can see depth, 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 and then I just need to go through and connect the back sides of them. And that drawing is done. Okay, so let's zoom out here real quick and refocus. Here was my shape. Let's zoom out a little more. There's my shape. This was my front view. Front view, we used the sketch plane of X and Y. That was my side. Side, we used the sketch plane of Y and Z. That was my top. Top view, we used the sketch plane of X and Z. Okay? Should look like that. And the only consistent knock I've been having on these is people just not taking the eraser and touching things up at the end to kind of step up the neatness a little bit, but everything else has looked pretty good.